Brian Wood begins X-Men #1 with Jubilee in a Bulgarian airport. She has found an orphaned baby and decided to fly back to the United States and take the baby to the one place she truly feels at home, with the X-Men. Jubilee is also concerned that she is being followed by a strange man. This figure, who is apparently well connected, deduces that she is heading to the Jean Grey school and arrives before her. Upon his arrival, he immediately surrenders to the X-Men and is revealed to be John Sublime. Meanwhile, Storm, Rogue, and Kitty attempt to rendezvous with Jubilee and fly towards her incoming train. Kitty phases in and searches from car to car for her. When she finds her, she is shocked to see Jubilee with the baby. The rest of the ride should be uneventful, but the X-Men fail to notice the baby causes the train to lose control. But when things begin to spiral out of control, the X-Men jump into action and safely crash the first 3 cars of the train. Back at the Jean Grey school, Rachel Grey and Psylocke interrogate Sublime. He tells them that he wishes to warn them of his sister, Archaea. Like him, she is incredibly powerful and driven by revenge. Sublime warns them that his sister is able to possess technology. Jubilee and the baby make it back to the school, and Sublime attempts to alert the X-Men to the fact that the baby is actually his sister. Unfortunately, it is too late. Archaea uses her powers to find the container holding Omega Sentinel, who has been comatose since the Second Coming story. Issue #1 ends with Archaea taking over Omega Sentinel and proclaiming, "This body will do."
So this first issue really seems to be bringing back a lot of older X-Men characters. At the end, we obviously see the Sentinel Prime.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen her since, I think, Second Coming, when Bastian was trying to kill Hope, and then used that virus to shut down all the Sentinels, and then Omega Sentinel went comatose. So it's kind of cool that they brought her back. John Sublime is another character they brought back. We know him from the Weapon X projects, and he also created the Cuckoos, and he's just basically always just trying to decimate the mutants.
Both of these not only have good connections with past X-Men stories, but they're also very strong adversaries to be introduced in an opening arc.
Yeah, when you compare this to a lot of the other X-Men titles, I think in the new Uncanny X-Force, the first person they fight is like Spiral, who's like a drug-dealing mutant, or Cable in the X-Force, where they're fighting the Technovirus, which is basically what Cable is always fighting. But this is some legit first adversaries.
I think for a lot of opening arcs, it's very difficult to write a very strong villain as well as introducing all the characters. But Brian Wood is an exceptional writer, and he's also got great art to go along with him, and I think this is a great duo.
Yeah, Copiel, we know him from like AVX and some other things, and he has great art, like you said. Brian Wood has done some great independent works like DMZ, and he's got The Massive now, also Demo. But I think we can expect good things from this series. I wasn't expecting too much, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, when you think of X-Men titles, you think of the all-new X-Men, which has established itself as a premier X-Men title, then the Uncanny X-Men, which has always been a premier title. Wolverine the X-Men, follows the Wolverine school, so that's important. So I definitely did not expect much from just X-Men.
Yeah, I was also kind of worried because I thought the whole idea that it was going to be an all-female cast would be just a gimmick, almost like with Uncanny X-Force, they touted their all-female cast. But Brian Wood hasn't really focused on the fact that they're all women. They just happen to be women, you know?
Which is, I think, important, and maybe later on we'll see maybe Beast or someone else play a larger role. And I think that's really important because I really don't like this segregation of, like, you need to have an all-female team. I mean, why not have strong female characters in all these other teams? It doesn't make much sense. It allows for a lot cooler interactions and storylines, I think.
Speaking of this team, though, I really like the cast they have so far. They kind of have a cool spectrum of characters, like Kitty and Storm are more of the reserved characters, I guess you would say, whereas like Psylocke and Rachel are more of like the wild cards.
They're possibly the 2 strongest psychics now, and I think having that on the team itself is a massive, massive bonus.
And we can't forget about Jubilee. She's finally back in the X-Men universe. It seems like she's been laying low.
Yeah, well, we know that she's now a vampire, and I don't know how that's going to be addressed in the storyline.
I thought it was kind of funny that, like, we haven't seen her in so long, and the first scene we see her with is she's just got a baby. And I was thinking, like, where the fuck did this baby come from?
I'm a pretty big fan of Jubilee, so I'm really excited that she's going to play, at least in the first arc, a pretty major role.
The opening scene where she's flying on the airplane, going to the Jean Grey school, I really love Brian Wood's opening line where he says, like, mutants are synonymous with fear and hatred, but for Jubilee, they represent home.
I think a sense of belonging is very important to what the school is supposed to be and what Wolverine, when he initially created the school, was trying to mimic of the original school. And I'm happy to see that that is still intact.
As a grade for X-Men #1, what would you give it, though?
I'd give this issue a 4 out of 5. It was a really strong first issue. I love the art, and I'm excited about seeing Jubilee.
I'm going to give this issue a 4.5 out of 5. It was a very intriguing first issue. I had extremely low expectations going in, but they were vastly exceeded, and I'm definitely going to keep reading this work.
Thanks for watching B3 Comics' review of X-Men #1. Before we go, we have a question for you.
Has there been another Marvel Now title that has exceeded your expectations?
You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up.